as a creative, I feel like you're connected a little bit more to what Australia is, and like, where do you think sport fits in it? Because I'm sure you think about where music sits in it, and where does footy sit in that?
That's a really good question. I mean, for me, like where footy sits for me is that footy is like, I sort of had this like a bit of a crisis a couple of years ago where I was like, I have nothing in my life that isn't music, and it put so much pressure on that for me.
Yeah.
And then I realized that really like my biggest hobby outside of music is like watching the footy.
Yeah.
You know, going to the footy and like going to the pub with friends, and like that's how like we engage when the season's on and all that kind of stuff. And I think that like there is, even though football is very much like it's real life, you know, but there is an element of fantasy to it, and it does take you out of your own life.
Yes.
Even though you are so tied to the team that you go for or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think that that's what it is for everyone. There is an element of fantasy about it.
Alex, I gave you the worst. I threw you the worst question.
He gave me the essay question,
and you
the
answered
sociology question.
You answered it so incredibly well.
Yeah,
I thank you so much.
I don't know if that's the answer, but that's what it is for me.
You spoke to a huge issue in my life, and I think Braden's as well, where we had the footy as a hobby and then we monetized it and made a podcast.
Big mistake, fellas.
Big mistake. Now we can't enjoy it.
Now we're going to become musicians. I'm going to become a musician. Tom's going to become a comedian.
Now, this is when you guys get really into like cycling or some fucking bullshit like that.
I do have started riding to work, actually. Fuck.
There we go. See? The prophecy.
This is the thing. One other thing we talk about on this podcast too much is trying to build the perfect, because it's talking about identity of Australia. My opinion is that the grand final should be the Australian moment. We don't have a day every year where we can say this is Australia Day. Mm-hmm. There needs to be a moment where we can properly say this is the moment. This is Australia.
Yep.
And I feel like the grand final fucking well could be that if they backed it in. So like we're like Kiss. I thought Kiss maybe wasn't the best choice. Who in Australia do you think could play a great grand final as far as Australian musicians? Apart from yourself, who genuinely would be dope?
I'm available. Yeah.
Would you do a grand final if you were asked?
100, as if I wouldn't do a grand final if I was asked.
Because it's like
exactly.
it's a critical thing. Like there would be people who would say,
sure.
"Fuck Alex Lahey," but there'd also be people who'd be like, "Hell yeah!"
Oh, like people would like. There is no doubt that there are people out there who would hate it, and you just have to accept that and roll with it. I mean, that's a really good question. Who do I think would do a really good job? I mean, I feel like Jet's having a bit of a moment like right now. Have they done it before though?
I feel I'm not looking it up. I refuse. But statistically, they have.
Yeah.
But maybe they haven't. In that era, it could have been Rogue Traders. It could have been
Rogue Traders, yes.
Pot Bellies. It could have been
Oh my goodness.
LCD sound
Could you
system.
imagine?
Yeah, sneaky sound system.
Sneaky sound system.
Well, actually, whenever I think of LCD sound system, I do think of the lead singer from Sneaky Sound System. Still, they're not the same thing though.
No.
Who would be your ultimate?
We would talk like this year, actually last year. Sorry, I thought like the best thing to do last year would have been to have Troye Sivan.
Oh my God, that would be amazing.
Wouldn't it just fucking pop off?
Yeah, that would be incredible.
And then put King Gizzard on. Just do it.
Yeah.
Upset everyone.
Just high octane.
Yeah.
Metal, rock. Be great.
Yourself. But then that year...
Troy would be sick though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like if they just moved away from the idea of it being you have to try and go and get the Killers to do a corporate gig.
Yeah.
Which is essentially what they're doing.
Yeah.
Get Australians and then make it this thing where a rite of passage for being an iconic Australian act is to be the grand final performance. Don't try and compete with the Super Bowl. Try and do something different. What would you do? What would your set be? If it was 10 minutes at grand final, halftime or pre-show, what would be your absolute killers that you think will just dominate?
I mean, look, I'm going to put it out there because like every day's the weekend is the song of football. Like thematically.
Yeah.
You
Fuck
know,
work, you're here every day is the weekend.
but it's just like I couldn't think. Like I'm putting it out there to the AFL guys. Like use the song. Like you know, I'll cut you a deal.
Yeah.
You know, because like it makes sense. It's like every day Thursday night football. Every day's the weekend. You know. Yeah. That's it. Let's go.
Would you redo it and put footy in there? Every day's the footy.
I'll do whatever. I'll do whatever.